The Indian Prime Minister sent out a noble goodwill gesture by calling on all SAARC nations to unite in their fight against the coronavirus. At a time when the Indian Premier was always blamed for undermining SAARC, the general feeling was that at least the prevailing threat of the dreaded virus has brought the South Asian nations together. Good morning, I'm Sarah Sapsanama and these are the top stories of the hour. Government to suspend on-arrival visas for foreigners from all countries from today until the end of April next month. All mountain expeditions cancelled for the upcoming season. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi calls on all SAARC nations to formulate joint strategy to combat the rising threat of corona. SAARC Chair Nepal welcomes Modi's call to unite. US President Donald Trump declares a national emergency to help handle the growing outbreak of novel coronavirus, to release $50 billion in emergency fund. And Manang Marshangdi and Nepal Police Club to contest in the finals of the Ahadara Gold Cup. The match in Pokhara Stadium slated for 3 p.m. kickoff today. The government has decided to suspend on-arrival visas for foreigners from all countries from today until the end of April next month in response to the World Health Organization's declaration of the novel coronavirus as a global pandemic. Issuing a statement, the Department of Immigration has made it mandatory for all foreigners already having their visas to submit a swab test and PCR health certificate issued maximum 7 days before their arrival date to Nepal. The government has also provisioned mandatory 14 days of self-quarantine for foreigners, NRNs and Nepali nationals visiting Nepal from 14th of March. Meanwhile, the government has requested all Nepali nationals living abroad to avoid all kinds of unnecessary travel and follow high precautionary measures against the COVID-19 infection. The government of Nepal has come up with the new immigration policy to abide by the World Health Organization's recommendations for countermeasures against the novel coronavirus as per the International Health Regulation 2005. Even as the government has introduced stringent visa policy for foreigners, it has not yet collected any data on the total number of foreigners who have entered the country since the novel coronavirus outbreak. This has raised speculations that the foreigners who are already in the country have been infected with the coronavirus and the possible risk that they could spread it to other population. Now, the government has suspended procedures for granting permission for expedition of Mount Everest along with other mountain expeditions for the upcoming spring season. The government has decided to suspend mountain expeditions in a bid to control the travel of foreign nationals in the country in response to the global outbreak of novel coronavirus. As per the decision taken by the government's high-level committee, the expedition permissions that have already been issued and those still pending have been suspended, aimed at preventing the possible outbreak of the virus in the country. The government had granted expedition license to 1,024 foreign and Nepali nationals last year, which helped collect 500 million rupees of royalty amount. The high-level committee under the coordination of Deputy Prime Minister Ishwar Pokhriyal has issued its 19-point decision to counter the possible spread of the virus. The government has also banned all kinds of public gatherings and conferences until 31st of May 2020. Meanwhile, the Department of Foreign Employment has also suspended granting labour permits for Nepali migrant workers. According to the department, the suspension would remain in place until the next official notice. The Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has called on all SAARC nations to form a joint strategy to combat the rising threat of novel coronavirus outbreak. SAARC chair country Nepal has welcomed Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi's call at a time when the Indian Prime Minister has been charged of undermining the role of the regional cooperation SAARC. We have a report.
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Friday afternoon called on all SAARC countries to hold a video conference to formulate strategies to fight against the novel coronavirus. The Indian Prime Minister, who had been undermining the role of the regional cooperation alleging Pakistan of harboring terrorism, has however sent a goodwill gesture calling on all member nations to unite at this time of serious urgency. Meanwhile, Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli tweeted from the hospital bed earlier on Friday, expressing his solidarity to the Indian Prime Minister's call to fight against coronavirus outbreak. Responding to the Indian Prime Minister's tweet, Oli said he was confident that the SAARC countries can save the people from the coronavirus. The South Asian region is densely populated, and a healthy South Asian population augurs well for the future of the giant Indian economy. Likewise, the relentless tension between India and Pakistan has rendered the SAARC to the verge of being non-functional. The scheduled SAARC summit in Pakistan last year was also postponed and is yet to take place. However, politics and non-politics apart, the Indian Prime Minister's gesture on Friday is bound to go well for the future course of the South Asian Regional Cooperation, SAARC.
And with that, we'll take a short break here. We have more news coming up. Welcome back. Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli was discharged from the TU Teaching Hospital yesterday. The hospital sources have said that the Prime Minister was discharged as all of his health reports were normal. Prime Minister Oli was recuperating following his second kidney transplant surgery that was conducted on 4th of March earlier this month. The attending doctor said that with all vital stats normal, the hospital team decided to discharge the Prime Minister. The first kidney transplant of the Premier was conducted 12 years ago in Delhi. Following his discharge, the Prime Minister went to his official residence in Balwatar. Premier Oli's niece, Samiksha Sangrola, who had donated her kidney, meanwhile was discharged this Wednesday. And moving on, the government's central authorities themselves have remained indifferent towards sorting out the annual rise in the outstanding amounts. Although the finance, physical infrastructure, defense and energy, among other ministries, have been aiming to reduce their outstanding indicators to zero, 70% of the overall unsettled government expenses are yet to be sorted out. The Finance Ministry, the authority primarily responsible to sort out the outstanding amounts of the government authorities, has remained indifferent towards maintaining its own financial discipline. Likewise, other ministries too have shied away from the call of the Office of the Auditor General and the Parliament's Public Accounts Committee to address the issue. The government failing to penalize the officials who are indifferent towards sorting out the outstanding amounts has also given way to increasing financial indiscipline at different state mechanisms. The expenses carried out without adhering to the accounting rules, and the amounts meant for refund are listed as outstanding amounts. The continued indifference on the part of concerned authorities on sorting out the unresolved amounts is seen as a slap against the government's pledge towards good governance. And with that, we move on to the international update. US President Donald Trump has declared a national emergency to help handle the growing outbreak of coronavirus. The declaration allows the federal government to tap up to $50 billion in emergency relief funds. The move loosens regulations on the provision of healthcare and could speed up testing, the slow pace of which has been criticized widely. There are 1,701 confirmed cases of COVID-19 in the US and 40 deaths. Several US states have taken measures to stem the infections rate, including banning large gatherings, sporting events, and closing schools. The virus originated in China last December, but Europe is now the epicenter of the global pandemic, the head of the World Health Organization said on Friday, as several European countries reported steep rises in infections and deaths. Italy has recorded its highest daily toll yet, 250 over the past 24 hours, taking the total to 1,266 with 17,660 infections overall. Trump's administration has come under recent scrutiny over its failure to provide Americans with widespread coronavirus testing. The decision on the state of emergency was announced by Trump in a live address from the White House Rose Garden. Among the measures envisaged as part of the emergency response include up to 500,000 additional coronavirus tests to be available by early coming week, although the authorities are not recommending tests without clear need. And with that, we have more news coming up, but right now it's time for yet another short break. In our public voice segment, we had asked the residents of Baki district what should be done in order to minimize the fire-related accidents. Let's take a look at what they had to say.
Public voice.
जति पनि आगलागी अहिले पछि समय भएको छ धेरै चाहिँ नि विद्युत सर्किट भएर चाहिँ आगलागी भएको देखिएको छ यसमा चाहिँ बेला बेलामा आफ्नो घरको विद्युत लाइनहरु चेक जाँच गराउने पुराना तारहरुलाई चाहिँ चेन्ज गर्ने बदल्ने यतातिर पनि ध्यान दिनु जरुरी छ
दमकलहरुको व्यवस्था राम्रोसँग हुनु पर्यो अब हामीले पनि इमर्जेन्सी कलहरु राख्ने नम्बरहरु सबैले सम्पूर्ण सबैजनाले राख्न सक्नु पर्यो
दमकललाई पानी भर्नलाई पाइपहरु फिट गरेर यसमा दमकलमा पानी भर्ने सुविधा दिनु पर्यो
आगलागी भइहाल्यो भने पनि अब दमकलको पनि व्यवस्था गर्नु पर्यो राम्रो 24 घण्टा सेवाहरु दिन पर्यो
बच्चाहरुको अगाडि त्यो नराम्रो हार्मफुल सामानहरु राख्नु हुँदैन
घनत्व भएको बस्तीहरुमा अलिकति फराकिलो गराएर छिटो छरितो दमकलहरु जान सक्ने चाहिँ बाटाहरु घाटाहरु गरायो भनेपछि छिटो छरितो पनि हुन्छ र आगो निभाउनको निम्ति अलिकति न्यूनीकरण हुन सक्छ
जसको उद्योग हुन्छ त्यसले पनि त्यो हिसाबले फायर फाइटिङको फायर एक्सटिंग्विशरहरु राख्नु पर्यो
And it's time now for our segment Public Pulse, where you text us with your opinion.
Public pulse.
And the question is, why are government central bodies reluctant to clear outstanding amount? Your options are A, lack of willpower, B, no fear of action, and C, habituated. The voting is on. Type NEWS, select your option A, B or C and send it to 34001 to share your opinion with us. Time now for the sports update.
Sports news.
Nepal Police Club is taking on Manang Marsyangdi in the finals of the Aharara Gold Cup football today in Pokhara. The final in Pokhara Stadium is slated for 3 p.m. kickoff. The two arch rivals have lifted the Aharara Cup for an equal 5 times, but the two teams are contesting the final of the Aharara Cup after 15 years. Manang had chalked out a 3-2 win the last time they met in the final in 2005. Police coach Ananta Thapa and Manang coach Fuja both are confident of clinching the title. The police team had defeated 3-star while Manang had won against 3-1 Army in the semi-finals. The victorious team will be awarded a cash prize of 1 million rupees along with the winner's trophy. Time now for our special segment Media Watch.
Lawmakers speaking at Thursday's meeting of the House of Representatives drew the attention of the government towards black marketing of essential items, including cooking gas, amid fears of the coronavirus outbreak. The lawmakers from both the ruling and the opposition parties urged the government to intervene in the ongoing black marketing and take action against the faulty businesses at the earliest. The lawmakers warned that black marketing of essential items would further escalate if the government failed to take timely actions. The lawmakers also demanded for clarification from the government for failing to revise the price of petroleum products even after the price of crude oil in the international market dropped by 30% due to the coronavirus outbreak. The lawmakers from the main opposition Nepali Congress also demanded for the suspension of all House proceedings amid the rising threat of coronavirus.
And before wrapping up, here's a look at the top stories once again. Government to suspend on-arrival visas for foreigners from all countries from today until the end of April next month. All mountain expeditions cancelled for the upcoming season. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi calls on all SAARC nations to formulate joint strategy to combat the rising threat of corona. SAARC chair Nepal welcomes Modi's call to unite. US President Donald Trump declares a national emergency to help handle the growing outbreak of novel coronavirus to release $50 billion in emergency fund. And Manang Marsyangdi and Nepal Police Club to contest the finals of Aharara Gold Cup. The match in Pokhara Stadium slated for 3 p.m. kickoff today. That's all for the moment. Our next English bulletin will be at 11 a.m. Thank you for watching. Have a great day ahead.